sometimes with the police, there's a thing called honourable corruption, where you take a housing estate, a bad housing estate, there'll be 5 families causing chaos for everyone. And it's not nice for people who live there because they can't lock their doors, they can't, it's just getting burgled, getting houses screwed. So there might be one burglar that's just always getting away with it, and the old people say, do you know what, I've had enough of him. And they get stitched up. So,
and that's what they call honourable corruption.
Honourable corruption. So I'll give you an example. So there was one of these guys, he gets stopped, right? And they used to have a thing called the happy kit, right? So it'd be a little bit of cannabis, be a knife, or some various other weapon, right? And it's called the happy kit, right? It'd be kept in someone's desk. So they say, right, get the happy kit. I'm not saying I was ever caught up in this one, but there was this one guy that a certain police unit wanted, and this is on a more local level, and they went, right, go get the happy kit. So they get the happy kit out, and they catch him on the street. Right, they're not doing anything, just walking along. So they get him stopped, and they said, call a WPC down. So they get one of the women down there, and so they said, right, it's up to you. You have the cannabis or the knife. He's like, what the F? You can F off, I'm not, you're stitching me up and all that. And they said, well, which one are you going to have, the cannabis or not? No, you can F off until my brief this. With that, the girl just screams, rape, he just squeezed my tits, he just touched my tits. And one guy said, yeah, I saw that. And someone else, yeah, I saw that. Right, you're nonce.
I'll have the cannabis.
And he said, that's exactly what he said, give me the cannabis then. So that's what they call sort of honourable corruption, as it were, And then there's organised corruption, and this is where we get into what the flying squad were doing. And when you're a uniform cop going about and you've got these burglars and you know what they're doing, of course you're dealing with the victims, you're thinking, oh, you're horrible little, and you want to, and you'll be driving on one day and they might do that sign and you just think, oh, we're just going to smash them up when you get hold of them. So there was that. People did get a belt in and things like that.
People actually get beaten up by the police
themselves. Yeah, they got all the time.
That was quite common practice in the 80s and 90s.
Brendan, it was a case you turn up and they'd look at you thinking, well, you're going to hit me or I'm going to hit you.
Yeah.
Someone's got to hit someone because we're going to fight.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. And they accepted it. It was like, and the really weird thing, you'd go in the pub afterwards for a drink, and the big guy's just been bailed out, he'd be with his mates, and they give you a beer. But sometimes they might give you a beating.
Yeah.
And it'd be, well, you win.
Did you enjoy it, John?
It was incredible. It was fantastic. It was, but sometimes the line would get crossed, and some guys didn't know when to stop, and there were some things that were very unjust, And I ended up getting sent up the West End to a place called Belgravia. And you think that's really posh. But it's where they put all the officers that are under investigation from the National Crime Squad, the Flying Squad, the Regional Crime Squad. They were all put in there, and it was totally monitored. And there was guys that were caught up for armed robberies. There was 3 coppers were going out on their days off to Belgium, Switzerland, France, and doing armed robberies. There was another group of lads, right, in their lunch break. They all applied for a credit card. And they were swapping them about in different names and going out buying goods and then saying, no, I never bought that. If you're not sick of that, not me. And of course they knew that someone else would get the crime and it'd be covered up. Another team were organised shoplifters and they were going out to HMV and just nicking CDs when they just come out. And they were just, there was stuff like that going on. There was drugs were going missing. Money was a big one. Money would always be, we used to say straight in, right, there'd always be someone that would want to search a bedroom so they could find dirty pictures and dildos and things like that. There was always the pervert, I'll do the bedroom. And there was always someone to do the kitchen because that's where
the money was.
Money is, in the freezer, in the sugar,
Yeah.
I'll do the kitchen. And you knew they were going to nick money. There was one guy, we searched the house, well, someone searched the house and say I'm there, but there was an allegation £15,000 had gone missing. And I was like, no, we never found any money. Well, one of the guys I worked with, he'd taken a week off because he was getting new sails fitted for his boat. He even had a boat. So, and then the higher up you got, into these elite units, it become a very closed shop. you know, and you wouldn't really get through that filter unless you was part of that clique. And it gets dirty very, very quickly, and it gets addictive. But
do you think it's still the same now, or do you think?
No, I think it's changed. I think CCTV's changed that.
Society and technology.
Technology's
changed it,
definitely.
Yeah.
But they rely on technology too much now, so the coppers aren't on the street. So I think any serious and organised criminal, especially a foreign national, who's not known, they're laughing. I think they're pretty much laughing.
Foreign national criminality now is the one.
That's the one. That's what you're going to do.
It's out. I mean, they're so far advanced against British criminals. They've come here with a far higher educated criminal brain, haven't they? You know what I mean? And they're more ruthless, without a doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt. And no one knows who they are, you see. So, in respect to turning a blind eye to it, I weren't really bothered if someone got beaten up. It was a game. We got smashed about, and they did. Brutalising innocent people, no, that's wrong. You know, and did that happen? There was one or two that were a bit inclined to do it to wrong people. I mean, there was a police station well known for it was Carter Street, you know, over at Walworth that way, and that was just horrific. You know, they were just smashing people up all the time. There was one at Harrow Road had a reputation for smashing people up, and Stoke Newington over in Hackney had a reputation. So each area had a cop shop.
And was that to sort of like put a message out to everyone in the area, like will do?
You come in here, you'll get in. There was a Carter Street had a wall in the custody, and it was splattered with blood, and the custody sergeants would not let the cleaners clean it. And a woman gets nicked for drink driving, and she's a bit posh, and she complains, and she said, to the sergeant, "Oh my God, sergeant, this is disgusting, that's clearly blood." And with that, he backhands her in the face, smashes her nose, and then he wipes her. So yeah, some of yours on there, love, now. And wipes her. Oh, yeah, you know.
Wow.
And of course, you know, another example was when the yuppies started getting quite big, and then they started moving sort of down to Borough and down that way. They'd all be drinking sort of, and you sort of got a mix of two cultures. You've got these very sort of...
You've got the Barrow boys.
Yeah, Barrow boys, and then you've got this lot.
Yeah, yuppies, yeah.
And a tramp had been nicked, a violent tramp had been nicked and put in the cells. I think it was somewhere in South London, it's Rotherhithe or one of them in there. And then one of these yuppie hoi polloi boys, city boys, comes in, he gets nicked for cocaine or something, and he's just cocky and mouthy, and he's just insulting everyone. I earn more in a minute than you earn in a year. So the sergeant gets on with him and says, chuck him in with the old tramp down the bottom, he can spend the night with him. Anyway, so they get him, they throw this yuppie in with this tramp, lock the door, and then within about 5 minutes he's banging and screaming, "Help, help!" And they ignore him. The tramp was raping him.
Oh wow.
The tramp raped him, yeah. And of course they left him there all night. They're like, telling him to shut up if he does it. Yeah, when they went in there they think, well, you know, better call a doctor. This has gone the wrong way, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so but that sort of stuff, it culture, it was how it was. The stealing, again, that's very, they've got to be careful who they involve in on that, because that's a long-term thing. So you've got to have a conspiracy of silence with that. You've all got to be nicking. You can't just have a couple doing it. Everyone's got to be nicking.
Everyone's got to be getting their share.
Everyone, yeah. You know, and drugs divvied up and things like that. And there was always rumours that stuff was going on, especially with the regional crime squad down in Dulwich. You know, there was rumours about them being involved in bits and pieces. And
can I ask you, how have people reacted, the police reacted to you coming out and talking about this sort of stuff?
Well,
have they, has it been good?
Well, it has in many ways, but so when it comes to corruption, I can take or leave it. I'm not really interested. You know, that's career criminals. If they get their money nicked, well, you've not paid tax for it. You've not done an apprenticeship. Tough shit, you know. And if someone wants to mouth off and the police smash them, really, well, I would say police are like wasps. Don't go near them.
So you've got the old-fashioned attitude to it, really, John.
But Brendan, this is where it changed, because by default, I end up on child protection. I went to Vice first, and that's where the real cover-ups of horrible things with kids went on. and I was told to shut my mouth because there were little kids being trafficked out, being prostituted out from the age of 9 onwards. I was dealing with these kids. And the first time I ever picked up, because I started working with the street prostitutes, and I started running them as informants because that was my thing. I was very good at it. And I found if you use informants, you can actually do no work. The informant does it all, when you don't have to do loads of paperwork. It's like a direct inner to everything. Otherwise you've got to do surveillance and all that. Get an informant, it's all done for you. So I sort of... And then I started working with the prostitutes and realised they'd all been in care. They all had heroin addictions and all been raped as kids. So not the girls in brothels, but the ones on the street. And I sort of felt sorry for them. This is a dirty world. We could be working together here. And one of them went, look, there's little kids, there's little girls coming out here. I was like, well, tell me and I'll go get them. And they call it giving them a squeeze, leaving them alone. She said, give me a squeeze, Governor. I said, of course. Yeah, look, I won't just give you a squeeze, I'll give you money. But she went, look, come back Thursday. This was in Market Road in Islington, right? Just up from King's Cross, by Pentonville Prison. Stone's throw from Pentonville Prison. She said, if you wait there, by them bushes, this little girl's there. She's really little, and there's blokes picking her up. I went, brilliant. So me and my mate turn up. Sure enough, this little girl's there. When I say that big, that's not an understatement. She was about 13, 14, but she was on heroin, and she had HIV. I think she had AIDS actually, and tuberculosis. And you know, it was sad, and she was being picked up by men. And get this girl and throw her in the car. We don't nick her, she's a victim. So I call up and say, look, we got so and so, we're taking her to the safe place. We had a safe place to take them, and then we'd get them put in a secure unit. And the next thing I get a call, yeah, get rid of her, she's got scabies, she'll infect the room, she'll infect the car, she'll stink, get rid of her. And they told me to throw her on the street, to be abused. And I wouldn't do it. Anyway, one girl started talking to me and saying, look, we've been picked up and we've been taken to crack houses and passed around, we've been taken to restaurants, we've been taken all this. And she said, not just me, John, there's loads of us. So I talked to another one, started interviewing them all, and they were going from 14 down to 9. Boys, girls, it was all sorts. And posh restaurants, they were telling them about judges involved. There was one copper at Paddington Police Station was actually delivering the girls to a politician's house. And no one was investigating it. And when I went into the archives, the intelligence reports, because, you know, the police keep records on everything, you know, and they say, oh, it's gone, it ain't gone, it's always there. They'd known about it for 15 years, you know, and I started tracing some of these kids that were named 15 years later are now adults, and they were saying, yeah, look, they were giving statements. So me and a colleague, we built up this fantastic job. And because a judge was mentioned and a cop was mentioned, I put it on a report, and next thing I know, a senior officer drags me in and basically turns around and said, well, you know, literally turns around and said to me, if this ever gets out, we're effed, past, present and future. This can never get out, right? We're finished. I said, but you know about it. He said, of course you know about it. He said, but if you mention this, you've no idea what you're dealing with. I'll make sure you lose your home, your job and your children. Shut your effing mouth. Boom, and shut it down, right? Shut the whole thing down. The 2 main child witnesses were murdered. Both ended up dead on the street with suspicious drug overdoses. And that was it, closed down, shut down. And initially it frightened me and I didn't say nothing. But when I found out that the 2 kids had died, something inside me said, no, this is wrong. You weren't put on this planet to allow that to happen. I personalised it. I thought, I've got kids. What if they've gone into care? What would I do? Would I allow this? And I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to allow it. So I stood up and said, no, you ain't doing this. And the moment I did it, well, that was it. It come for me. I mean, I got arrested 9 times in 3 years. I got stitched up with, well, they tried to. They never succeeded, but they did a good job. They tried to put my kids into care. They stopped paying me. I got my bank account shut down. I mean, I was arrested on about corruption. I came in one day because when I made a statement to the corruption command about senior officers covering this up. I come in one day and there were 2 officers from the corruption command. I'm thinking, you know, they're for me. And they went, John Wedger, went, yeah, right, you're under arrest. Theft, right? Theft. I'm not a thief, right? I said, of what? Theft of a sheet of A4 paper. I got nicked for a theft of a sheet because I printed off on my night duty an invoice on their job computer for a private business that I didn't tell them about. They nicked me for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs. I mean, going into that, it's even more laughable, that one. They said, we've got evidence to get you 15 years. And it went on and on and on, you know, threats.
How do you feel about them now?
Those that did that, well, they can rot in hell. And I like to see them exposed and put through what I went through. But the police, no, I've got no bad feelings towards the police. I think the whole thing needs a revamp. It needs totally shaking up, and children need to be the priority.